It's Bourbon Night. Hello, I'm Chad.
I'm Sarah.
And this is 50,000 subscribers.
Brr, brr, brr.
Yeah. So about a week ago, we put it out there on Patreon and YouTube for some questions.
Yeah.
We want some Q's because we got some A's.
That's right.
All right, first question comes from YouTube. So when can we expect a little bourbon night? Well, funny that you should ask.
Oh, gosh.
We already have one.
God.
He's about this tall.
He's so little.
And he's been on the Bourbon Night Awards the past 2 years, so
Yeah,
I guess you
he's
just
just a
haven't
little
watched
guy.
those episodes. But yeah, here he is, a little
Little
Bourbon Night. So thanks for that question. Next question.
Sips bourbon.
All right, another one from YouTube. This one is from Patriot75. Chad, what do you love most about Sarah with an H? Sarah with an H, what do you most love about Chad? She's not Sarah with an H yet.
Sarah
She hasn't
with an H
drank enough.
doesn't love anything about anyone. No, I don't know. As much as it doesn't seem like it on here, I think the thing I love the most about Chad is probably his sense of humor and general positive attitude.
You might get the...
Which I give the eye roll all the time to
I was
the
gonna say,
jokes.
you might...
He knows I like it. And his general creativity and his creative spirit.
All right.
Yeah, those are two things, but
I would say one of the things that I most love about Sarah
is my hair.
is just her general unwavering support,
Oh.
positive attitude, and just overall awesomeness. Not all these questions are gonna be like this. So yeah.
All right, that's enough.
On to the next. This question comes from Patreon. This is from Nate. He says, "Hi, Chad and Sarah. What's your favorite overall bourbon based on price, taste, and availability? Right now, mine is E.H. Taylor Bottled and Bond, Buffalo Trace for the Wind." I said wind.
I was gonna let it go. Gosh, that's a really hard question. That's like saying, what's your favorite movie?
Well,
I don't know.
but we have the price, taste, and availability, so I feel like it needs to be available. Wild Turkey 101 for price, taste, and availability is a really strong contender.
I mean, shoot, we just did the best under 30.
That was Knob Creek.
Right.
Knob Creek small batch.
I feel like I have to say that. Like, even though my brain is going to a couple of different things, like, we literally did a bracket of all of them, and that's what came out on top. So, I gotta say, I do always go back to Knob Creek.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I don't know if I've ever walked into a store and they haven't had Knob Creek.
Yep. All right, so this one comes from Damon. What was the bottle that changed you into a bourbon fan? That is really tough question because you're asking me to remember back, 6-7 years ago,
Right.
More, that really made me realize I was more than just drinking it with Coke. I would have to say, not one particular bottle, but some Buffalo Trace bottles. Like, I remember one day I went out to the store and I got a Buffalo Trace, a Weller Antique, and a Stag Junior, all just readily available on the shelf. The days. And I tried them all at some point within close days of each other and was like, wow, the range on these, it's different. And they're just... The world opened up
So
for
this
me.
is bourbon.
So this is what bourbon is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sort of opened things up for me.
For me, I guess I went a different way with it. I think it's when I started buying the 7-year, this is the defunct 7-year Jim Beam, and I started to kind of recognize longer age, this over the 4-year white label, or then actually...
Where are you pulling that from? He's got Mary Poppins bag over here.
Yeah. The Beam Black, which used to be 8 years age stated, and still is, but 86 proof. So I started to, I guess, kind of recognize that higher proof, for me at least, and maybe some age, a little bit more age, had more to offer than like the 4-year 80 proof base level, intro bourbon. All right, next question.
Ed Butler says, I'd be interested in hearing how your tastes have evolved over time as you've been exposed to a wider variety of whiskeys. I recall Sarah had a thing for larceny early on, but I don't hear much about it anymore. Maybe developing a taste for cask strength has made more mellow bourbons less desirable now. Just one possible example. That's a great point. It's something that we've talked about a little bit before. I do think as we've gotten, especially driven by the show, to try more higher proof things, things with more age, maturity. It does change your preferences. I do not pick up larceny anymore unless I'm taking it to like a party. But I think that's just because it's in that proof range that I just still find something missing. Like, I want that extra character. I want that heat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to something that's cask strength.
I don't drink as many Jim Beam as far as like Jim Beam on the label Jim Beams. So not counting like Knob Creek and Booker's, just Jim Beam, which I like, you know, like they're bonded and they're distiller's cut and the repeal batch and all those guys. But I'm not reaching for them very often. I still reach for some 90 proofers, you know. But yeah, normally it's like that 100 proof,
around 100 proof
or above. It's just kind of where we've migrated to, I think, taste-wise and preference-wise.
Yeah. Jacob asks, what bourbons always seem to punch above their weight class for you? We had a Bell Mead single barrel the other night that it was like 106 or 109.
I think it was 9.
And I was like, man, I would have blind been like 120.
I think Pikesville does.
Pikesville definitely
Pikesville
does.
Rye. I think Wild Turkey 101 punches above its weight class, especially for its price.
Yeah.
And just that, 101 proof, it can feel a little higher sometimes.
Definitely.
The Evan Williams single barrel, for being 86.6 proof, I believe.
It reads a little.
It reads higher, and it reads a lot more exceptional than its price category.
Right.
Jimmy Dramer says, what are your current top 3 go-tos when you're not reviewing? And then suggestion, more game shows, skits, trivia episodes, maybe even during live stream so we can all play along. I like that idea.
That's fun. Yeah, we did the bourbon run that one time and that was cool.
It was. So current top 3 go-tos when you're not reviewing.
I can't lie to you. Booker's.
Don't lie.
We have a bunch of it upstairs on top of our, I would
Bourbon
call it our
cabinet.
daily drinker cabinet. Yeah, we're always reaching in there for something to polish off. If I have Pikesville Rye, which I think we might be out right now, then it's generally...
There's one over there hiding from you.
Oh, that's probably a good move.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of am just like in the mood to polish off whatever's open. So recently we polished off Boone County. I think it was a 12 year. Yeah, that was good. We got a couple of Four Roses bottles open.
Yeah, and then again, not to keep saying it, but Wild Turkey 101 is, always a grab. And then we actually have a liter of Buffalo Trace open right now
That's true too.
just just when I feel like just a taste of bourbon,
Yeah.
I'll grab a Buffalo Trace and just get that little just a taste.
Just a taste. Generally like to have a bottle of not Stag, but yes, also
Yes,
that.
Stag.
But Baby Saz around for
cocktails.
Yeah.
Bill over on Patreon says, you walk into a bar and there is no whiskey.
Oh gosh, I'm leaving.
At all. What are you drinking? Beer? Hard seltzer? Jaeger bombs? Speaking of, 50K Jaeger bombs? No. But thanks for thanks for putting that idea
offer, but no,
in
thank
everyone's
you.
head, Bill. If a bar has no whiskey,
What kind of bar is it?
bar? They need to have their bar license, their liquor license revoked.
Depends on what kind of bar. If it's like a nicer establishment, but there's no whiskey, I'm gonna get some red wine. If there's no red wine, what would I get?
I would probably try like a local craft beer, but
I would maybe do a beer.
I think my answer is I would just get a cola.
Shots of tequila.
Oh,
Chilled silver tequila. Must be chilled. Cannot do warm.
Okay.
And if we're drinking, if it's like a seedy dive bar, which I assume in this scenario it must be because there's no whiskey and there's no good wine. Yeah, it would be shots of tequila. I don't know how to say this name. Silegio says, asks, what are your favorite bourbon cocktails? Not counting Evan Williams and Coca-Cola, of course. Someone listens. I like your listening skills. And then says, congrats to well-deserved success.
There you go.
Thank you. I honestly have to say that right now one of my favorite cocktails is this old-fashioned recipe that we have. I've talked about it before. We really need to do an episode on it. But basically, you make your simple syrup like normal, but you steep black tea. It's like an orange spiced black tea.
Okay, you're going to go through the recipe again.
Well, I'm just trying to give them an idea of what it is.
Yeah.
So it's got a tea-infused flavor, and I kind of want to call it like a Southerner's old-fashioned because of the sweet tea.
The sweet tea, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that kind of came to me today.
Okay.
But if I want something I don't know. I'll mix it up, try different stuff at different restaurants and things. Sometimes a whiskey sour or a New York sour if I'm feeling in the mood, but they can be too sweet. So, what about you?
For me, yes, that old fashioned that you already mentioned, but also it would have to be the tight spot. I know you say that's more of a summertime cocktail. For me, I could drink that anytime. We have an episode. I'll link it up here if you want to go check it out. But we discovered after that episode, the last, like the final touch
missing piece.
Yes, is tiki bitters. 10 drops of tiki bitters in there, and that completes the experience.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it does. Sean asks, what's your opinion of MGP? I had a barbecue last weekend, and my buddy said that he would bring beans. We all loved it and thought it tasted just like the beans at a local barbecue restaurant. That's because they were, he later confessed. We laughed, but it reminded me of MGP. Okay, so I guess, MGP is out there a lot, masquerading. Yeah, that's kind of their purpose, is to make stuff for other
Right.
brands.
Yeah, I have no problem with MGP. The two things that I like are, well, just transparency in general.
In general, sure.
Right? Like, you need to be open and transparent about that you're not producing and where you're getting it from. Because I think consumers need to be able to make an informed decision, especially when there's so many bottles to choose from out there. Now, some people will be like, it's fake bourbon. I'm like, it is definitely real.
I don't get that. And I think that goes beyond just MGP to any non-producing distiller. If any bourbon is sourced from another place, some people consider it fake bourbon, which I don't understand that at all.
But because the quality of that liquid in the bottle is still the same, they're just releasing it under a brand name to a different company. I don't know.
I agree with you about transparency is the ultimate goal. As transparent as could be, the consumer likes. But past that, if someone else makes it, it's still bourbon.
It's still bourbon.
It's made in Indiana. Yeah, it's not made in Kentucky, but we know it just has to be made in America. We're not snobs about that.
No.
We like Kentucky bourbon because we're Kentuckians, but,
Kickback Barbecue says, congrats to you for 50K. I really enjoy your channel, and here's my question. On the few times when you do mention a rye whiskey, I've always heard you talk about the unicorns of bourbon, but never ryes. What do you think about my favorite of Lock, Stock, and Barrel, which I'm lucky enough to have in the 13, 16, and 18-year-old batches? Please do a show about ryes. Thanks, Bob Tucker. We have never had the Lock, Stock, and Barrel, so I can't speak to that. But talking about favorite ryes, we do talk about Pikesville all the time. I like Pikesville a lot. Wild Turkey 101 rye is great. There's a lot of ryes, to be honest. The E.H. Taylor rye is really good. It's harder to find. Obviously, there's this beauty unicorn. Love. This is definitely favorite of all time. Love that Parker's Heritage Heavy Char rye, the Wild Turkey Cornerstone rye.
Yes.
But like something new that's, not Wild Turkey, Knob Creek rye is really good. Both.
The new Elijah Craig rye.
Yeah, the new Elijah, where is that?
It's over there.
It's over there.
It's over there. It looks like Elijah Craig, but it's a rye.
Like Knob Creek does like a regular rye that's
the 115
a
proof?
lot more, easy to get and more affordable. And then, Elijah Craig just came out with their rye, and that is awesome
Not
for the
available
price point.
everywhere, but
Not yet.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And we have done some rye focus episodes. We did a whole rye flight fight series. Sarah, what's in there is just Wild Turkey 101. That bottle's done.
It's been gone for a long time.
No, we did a whole flight fight series on ryes. I think probably 5 or 6 episodes to get to the finals of ryes, and it's been over a year since we've done that. There's been other stuff, so maybe we need to do another one at some point. But we are all good on ryes. We like them.
Yep. Michael James says zombie apocalypse. Well. The time of this filming, almost. No. And you can only take 5 of your favorite bottles. What do you take? This is so hard. But, are we splitting them? Can we each take 5, or we have to agree on the same 5?
Well, I don't know. We'll
just both list 5.
Carry 5.
I guess.
I don't know. This one's always too tough for me. The thing is I would have to know before there was a zombie apocalypse. Otherwise, I'd be like, and then I'd get eaten.
Yeah. That's why we're answering this question.
Okay. I'd probably say the William Heaven Hill.
I'm going to take the William Heaven Hill.
Booker's 30th.
I'm going to take the Booker's 30th. I'm going to take a bottle of Wild Turkey 101 just for funs. I'm going to take a Pikesville rye, so I have a rye in there.
Oh, okay. I might take a Knob Creek 25th.
Ooh.
One of the cast strength Knob Creeks.
Honestly, I'm going to grab that one of those Pappies because it's a zombie apocalypse and it is a piece of history that has a lot around it. And I feel like that could be a good bartering chip in the zombie apocalypse.
You could use it for trading.
You could be like, but do you want to try some of this rare?
It's even rarer now.
It's even rarer. Yeah, no. It's already open, so it's not like I could just be like, I'll sell it to you. But
right.
Yeah, I think it could help us buy our way.
That's a good point. Okay, here's an interesting one from Noah. Should you taste whiskey? Is there an ideal sip size, length of time in your mouth, and method to evaluate the finish and aftertaste? I ask because I'm a barista, and there are a few certain things that you can do to help you taste espresso. Slurping the hot espresso actually cools it off and lets you taste it a little bit more. Hints or tricks like this could be cool and fun. Well, first, disclaimer, we have never considered ourselves to be like experts in this field, so
we are mere enthusiasts.
The things that we'll say will be more our experience or anecdotal. One thing that we've noticed, and I think I've heard this echoed from other people, is you don't have to take a big gulp. Actually, the smaller amount that you take can be better. I think
so you just got a little bit. Freddie Johnson, I believe, is the one who will say, just even let it touch your tongue. Like, don't even sip it. Like, just...
Yep. Let it touch the tongue first.
Then give that a second.
That's getting you acclimated.
Right, now you're ready to taste, is what he'll say.
Yeah, and same thing with this little tiny sip. You shouldn't evaluate it off of that. Because, especially if this is your first bourbon of the day, but even if it's your first this bourbon, you shouldn't evaluate from that first sip.
Yeah, you're introducing, to each other. You're being introduced, and like
it's the handshake.
Yeah, kind of. And you're gonna get to know it a little bit more before you make a judgment call on it. Just like people. You can't be like, I shook your hand, I don't like you. I mean, you could.
You could. And you also don't go in for the hug when you're first meeting people.
Right.
Like, well, some people do, but that's a little weird. You go for the handshake.
Yeah.
Or the elbow bump.
Right now. Yeah. Okay, so then you would go back in for another sip.
And then the Kentucky Chew, where you're working it around the mouth before you swallow the liquid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just kind of let it roll across your tongue. With higher proof bourbons, this can be quite hot. So the smaller sip you get, the better, because if you get too much, you will overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
And it won't be fun.
But you also don't want to just take it in and swallow it, and then because then it's just crossing over like, the back part of your tongue real quickly. So that's the Kentucky Chews, kind of working it all around your mouth, so it's hitting all parts of your tongue. And then another thing you can do is actually breathe in over your tongue right after you swallow, and then out, and you can kind of get some more of that flavor in there.
Yep, everyone's got their own thing. They do what works best for them, but that's generally a good place to start, and then you just find out what works for you.
Brian Bernicki over on Patreon says, some food pairings are pretty obvious, such as Four Roses and dark chocolate. Yes, indeed, which is delicious. What bourbons and food pairings has surprised you the most? Well, I think we're both on agreement with this. Mm-hmm. The one that has surprised us the most is finding something to do with the Basil Hayden 2x2 rye. We definitely got, what was it? Was that a peach vibe off of this?
It got like a peachy vibe.
Yeah. So
peaches and apricots.
You had this idea.
So there's this apricot preserves or marmalade at the store. So I did like a cracker with, I think it was brie. Brie, because brie is like a nice soft cheese that it can be overpowered, but still gives you a little earthiness. And the preserves, and it really worked well with this. So on its own, we did not like this bottle. Paired with that, it was really nice experience to just enjoy them together.
Yeah.
We've done some more like cheese pairings with like Gruyere and Parmesan. I have a list of what we did, and we did like a little pairing evening to decide what went best with what. And that was so fun because I think cheese can have this, like I said, this earthy, nutty, creamy tone to it that really works well. I think the fat of it plays along with the textures of the bourbon really nicely. So I would highly recommend cheese. You might already know of that pairing, but it is a good one and not chocolate. So
Joseph Brazo's pecans.
Joseph Brazo's pecans.
Yeah, which were candied pecans.
Like candied, very holiday.
With, I would say like a Booker's or an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, something like that. Just
Booker's with a butterscotch pie.
Tastes like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
It's delicious.
It's weird. This one's from Ben. He asks, Chad, what's your tattoo? It is Latin. I took 4 years of Latin in high school. It's a Latin phrase for that translates to "as I breathe, I dream," which is just basically, something that I thought about for a while, and I thought kind of summed me up. Just always kind of
very creative mind.
Always dreaming. So
yep,
that's what it is.
Bill Sloan on Patreon says, I'd say crack that Weller Full Proof open. It could be a fairly quick uncorking to fit within the busy schedule. Bill, I love the way you think.
All right, Bill, let's do it.
He's going to agree to it. Listen, here's my problem. I've been trying to get Chad to open this bottle for a bit.
Well,
we were going to do an uncorking, but we haven't had the time. So I've been like, can we just open it? And so, no, not for me, but for Bill. But for Bill.
Anything for a patron.
Oh, gosh.
And a lot of people have been picking it out of the background here.
Hiding back there.
And are like, when are you going to crack open that Weller Full Proof? I'm like, wow, they can see it, even though it's out of focus in the background.
They can smell your fear, Chad.
Full disclosure, this is a pick.
As most of them are.
This one's from a liquor store here in Lexington. This one's called High Acres. Pause for cork pop.
Oh, that was nice.
Cork pop.
Worth the wait.
Worth the wait. We shall see. So, Weller Full Proof, 114 proof of the wheated Buffalo Trace mash bill.
Oh, I got chills. Just because of the warmth. What's the proof on this?
114.
You just said it.
I just said
that would explain the warmth.
Almost like a
graham crackers and burnt marshmallows.
S'mores. I was going to say s'mores.
Yeah.
Yes, this is sort of like a s'mores. All right, let's dive in. Wow, very rich.
Oh, yep.
So rich.
So rich.
Wow.
My mouth is watering.
Dang.
It is still hanging out. My mouth is still watering. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, but not too much on the first sip.
This one's got a little bite for that 114 proof. It's not in William LaRue Weller territory as far as the mouthfeel or the finish. This one has more of a burnt barrel aftertaste. It's a little bit more woody and forward, and
but I love that.
A little less refined than your WLW. More of a kick than your 107. And they're not that much proof difference, really.
Not much, but it does have more of a kick, and I will say it's much richer.
Yes.
Like, it is very balanced and flavor dense. Does that even make sense? I don't know. It's tasty stuff.
Wow.
Nom, nom, nom.
It sticks around.
That is lovely.
Now, here's sort of a moot point, Sarah, but recommend or not. I mean, if you can get one for retail, of course, recommend.
Of course.
But we're not living in that space now.
Nope.
We do want to say thanks to our friend Perry for facilitating us getting this bottle from High Acres. So thank you, Perry. If you can get it under $100,
definitely,
I would say get it. Yeah.
I don't know that you're gonna get it under $100.
Well, yeah, probably not. But if so,
definitely don't pass
so.
on it. If you're dabbling in the over $200 realm, I would probably encourage you to find something else.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Use your best judgment. There are also really great things out there for under $200 that I would point you towards. So just use your best judgment. I'm really glad that you grabbed this.
Yeah. Good suggestion, Bill.
Yeah, good job, Bill. But no, I'm glad that we did this.
All right. So this
very
will go
tasty.
back.
It goes back.
It goes back on to the next question.
Don from Patreon asks, someone gives you $1,000 to spend only on whiskey. Your only options are a single $1,000 bottle, 2 $500 bottles, or 10 $100 bottles. Which option would you choose?
Oh, Don.
So for this scenario, I'm going to suspend what is and isn't available. I think for the purposes of this, we should assume it doesn't necessarily need to be on the shelf available, and it's at retail price, correct? Because I don't know what the secondary price of some things are.
This is actually 1978.
He's not listening.
1978 Jim Beam.
Don, he's not taking you seriously.
Just put in this bottle. Well, there's no $1,000 bottle unless we're talking about.
Isn't there?
I mean, not even.
Michter's
20. Okay, Michter's 25. Could be. I know, like, the M20 retails for, I think, around between $600 and $700. So yeah, 25th. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. Maybe.
I mean, there's some, and he said whiskey. There's a lot of scotches that will retail.
Yeah, but come on.
I'm just saying.
It's us.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my answer.
All right.
Because this is a gifted $1,000, and I think that in my mind, I would spend it on something I wouldn't normally buy myself. So I would do the 2 $500 bottles, and I would get the Whistle Pig, the Black Prince, and I would get a Booker's Rye, which is also probably going to cost about $500.
Yeah. I like that approach. 10 $100 bottles, you can eventually get those yourself.
I'm sorry. It just tastes like a Werther's Original. It's so good.
Yeah. 1978 Jim Beam.
But 10 $100 bottles is going to get you a long way.
Yeah, that gets you some mileage, but you can eventually get there yourself if so you want. You know, slapping down $1,000 on one bottle.
It feels like you're wasting the $1,000 gift.
Maybe, but it's something that you would never get for yourself.
I would never get the Michter's 25th for myself.
That's true. That's true.
So I would probably buy that. If I went that option.
I'm looking at your question, Dawn, in a different way. I would take that $1,000. I would go into Justin's House of Bourbon and I would see what I could get for it. And then I would make the decision. I would try to get something like, you know, maybe a Booker's 20th anniversary or something. You know, I'd be like something in that realm. I think I would either go for the $1,000 level, depending on what I could get for it.
Like $1,000 in vintagey?
Yes, $1,000 in vintagey. Or the 2 $500 bottles. I think the Michter's is an exceptional way to go because we've had the M20 and it's wonderful.
It is good.
But then it's like, what's the other one that costs $500? Yeah, the Orphan Barrel. No thanks.
No. Sorry.
Boss Hog. Yeah, that might be a good way. Might be a good way to go.
I mean, I've always wanted a bottle. Every time I've seen a bottle of the Boss Hog Black Prince, I've
so sexy.
Fought the urge. I saw one time at I think it was $5.99, a bottle of the Evan Williams 23 year. It was sitting there. It was $5.99, and I remember making fun and being like, "Could you imagine ever paying $600 for that bottle?"
And meanwhile, I was like looking for my wallet.
If I could go back today and buy it, I would buy it, because you never see that bottle. I would buy it. Just for the purposes of the show.
Yeah, okay.
I would buy it. I love Evan Williams.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much all the questions. I sense the deleted questions that were cut for time as a Patreon extra, Sarah.
I feel like the future looks bright on that.
50,000. What to say? It's amazing. Thank you all for helping us get here and sticking with us and to infinity and beyond.
Right? Yeah. I don't think that we can say thank you enough because, I mean, we're just two people hanging out. Right? I think what's great about getting to this point is not just the number 50K and being able to say that, but I think it's the number of people that we've been able to answer your questions or help you find something. If we've been able to meet you, like,
or turn you on to something that you really enjoy now.
Right? Like, open the doors of bourbon, whether it's like entry level or moving up to a higher proof or trying out a rye for the first time. Like, I love that we've been able to be a part of that. I love every person that we get to meet that says that they watch the show. Like, it totally still feels like the first time every time. Yeah, it feels great to have this connection with people through the internet when the internet can be such a crappy place sometimes. And we get generally positive things. And when we make connections with people, it's so great when we finally do get to put faces to names. I love the friendships that have been built and people who might have never met each other. We might have never ended up together if it wasn't for us spending so much time together on the show. Like, it's just brought a lot of good things, and I think we're both really thankful for that.
I don't know if I can add anything else to that. You said it very well.
Thank you.
Very, very succinct, yeah. Thank you all so much for submitting the questions, for tuning in, and for just being amazing people in bourbon. And because of that, I guess we'll do the normal stuff. If you haven't subscribed already and would like to do so, you can click up here. There's suggestions of other videos down here. But thank you so much. And thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
All right. Till next time, drink more bourbon.